There are some times when you want to trigger routing, but you want to trigger it on some sort of directional change in, let's say, a numerical value, like a score. So if the score increases, you want to trigger routing off of that. But if the score decreases, you don't want to trigger routing off of a decrease. So here's one way that you can do that. And we'll need to get some help from Salesforce automation to do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to a Salesforce flow. Now you don't have to use a flow per se. You can also accomplish this same thing using a process builder or a workflow rule. But I'm just going to show this to you in Salesforce flows. And what I've done is I've created a flow that will initiate when a record has a score field change. So this score field is a numerical field, and whenever it's changed, it's going to pick this up and evaluate it. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to have this update the same record, but I have populated a previous score field. So whenever the score field changes, it's going to populate the previous score field with the prior value of the score field. So let me just show this to you here. If you just enter the value here, you can look for the prior record. And then you can also look for the field that you're examining. So here we're going to be looking at the score field, and whenever that changes, we'll find the previous score and then record it onto this previous score field. Okay, so let's go ahead and make sure that you test this out and activate this particular rule. And then once you do, it will be ready. So let's go back to our routing graph here. And in order for me to initiate routing on this, there are a few things that I need to do. Firstly, I need to put a condition within the update node. So I'm going to actually use a score change. So I'll grab my score field, and for my operator, I'm going to do has changed as my operator. Now, typically here, you want to add some kind of filter to make sure that not every single type of score change will initiate routing. So maybe a score change from 10 to 20 may not increase things, but maybe a score change from, let's say, 100 to 125 may initiate things. So here, what you would need to do is add whatever filtering conditions that you would want. And keep in mind, we're not using the increase or decrease condition yet. We just want to add maybe some threshold here. So let's say anytime the score changes and the resulting score is over 100. So I'm going to take a look at the score field here, and then I'm going to do a greater or equal to 100. So those are my trigger conditions. Every time the score changes and the score is greater than 100, this is going to initiate. All right, so now that I have this set up, I'm going to add a decision node here. So I'll go over and pull in a decision node, and this is going to look at my lead records. What I'm going to do is create a logic condition looking at the score field and ensuring that the score is greater than the previous score field. And here I'm going to actually insert a variable from the routed lead. I'm going to look for that previous score field. So now whenever the score is greater than the previous score, that signifies an increase, and you'll be able to filter out for those only. So I'm just going to label this score increase question mark. Great. So if the score did not increase, let's say that this was a decrease, we just want to end all routing here. So we'll select an end of flow. The score is decreased. And if the score increased, we'll do something else. In this case, let's just add an assignment node just to keep it very simple. I'm just going to assign the record to a user if the score has increased, and let's just say that we're going to assign this to Biff Tannen. All right. So hopefully that helps. We have whenever a lead score changes and the resulting score is over 100, we ensure that the score change was a increase rather than a decrease. But as long as it was an increase, we will continue routing and get that record assigned appropriately. So this is just one example of things that you can do by looking at the previous value, and you can certainly use this for other scenarios and use cases as well. I hope that helps.